We are going to take a look today at Fiber Art Center, which is the middle rectangle of this shelf below the blue pinboard. There's a lot available in Fiber Art Center, and we're going to take a look at everything that is there. The first shelf we have is for weaving. You have weaving looms, there are wooden looms, there are also cardboard you can use for looms, popsicle sticks that you can use as a shuttle for the looms. Then we have yarn separated into warm, cool, and neutral colors. Below here, if I take this whole stack out, I can see we have extra yarn. If people finish with their projects and they have a little bit of yarn left over, we just wrap it up nicely and put it in here. We also have a tool here that's used to make certain kinds of bracelets. If you know how to use them, that's awesome. If you don't know, ask people in your class. They probably have done this before and can show you how to do it. Those of you who know, it would be very helpful if you could teach others. Next shelf, we have everything you need for embroidery, and we have some sewing string over here. Embroidery, you have embroidery hoops. Under the embroidery hoops, you have fabric. In this container, you have embroidery floss, sorted into warm, cool, and neutral colors. Here is where you find the embroidery needles. These are only for embroidery. I'll show you the difference between embroidery and sewing needles later. And over in the corner, I've put together some guides to help you learn about different ways to stitch. We will take a look at that later. On the bottom shelf, we have felt and we have sewing kits. Inside of the sewing kit, we have sewing needles, we have a seam ripper, and we have needles. Let's look this week how to set up a weaving. I'm going to need a weaving loom, a popsicle stick, and I'm going to need some yarn. I'm going to choose red yarn. And this gray-green yarn. Once I've chosen my yarn colors, I'm going to take the string and stretch my arms all the way out long. This should give me enough to get started, and I can always add more yarn later. Okay, I take the piece that I cut, and I'm going to wrap this around. Make sure to put it back. This yarn I'm going to use to put the warp on my weaving. I'm not going to cut this one. For this, I'm going to take the whole ball of yarn to my table, and I'm going to cut it when I'm all finished warping. If I'm using a popsicle stick to help me with my weaving, I'm also going to need some tape. Just a reminder where to find the tape. It's best to use this kind of tape. I can just take some to my table. now I have everything I need to get started with a weaving. The first thing I need to do is use the tape to put my name on the loom. Then I'm going to take the yarn that I use for my warp. I'm going to find one end, grab another piece of tape, and tape this tail down to the back. And notice I do it close to a corner. That's important. Now I'm going to start warping my weaving. I start by pulling the yarn straight across. Then I wrap around this tooth and go across the other way. Wrap around this tooth, go across here, until I've gotten my whole piece of wood warped. Notice I do not have anything here. The weaving should only be on one side, and therefore all of the strings for the warp should only be on one side. Once I've gotten to the end, I'm going to take this tail, grab another piece of tape, and tape it down. Now I can take my scissors and cut. Okay, so my loom is warped. Now it's time to start the weft, the string that goes from right to left. I'm going to use a popsicle stick as a shuttle, which helps me carry my weft. It's easier than using just fingers. Take a little piece of tape and tape your string to the popsicle stick. Now, to weave, we create a pattern. A traditional pattern, a plain weave, is over, under. So you just, again, create a pattern. You go under, over, under, over, under, over, and so on and so forth, all the way across. Once I've gotten my popsicle stick all the way through, I can pull the string, and I'm going to pull until I have a little tail at this end. Careful not to pull too fast, otherwise you'll pull the string right out. Okay. Great, there's my tail. Now it's time to start on the other side. I need to look at what's happening here. The last string went over. That means on the next row, I need to go under. If I'm not careful with this, I could end up actually completely undoing the line that I just did. So notice as I go, I'm checking. Push this up. Is it different? Over, under, over, under, over. Yes, I'm on the right track. I can continue the pattern. Whenever I'm doing a weaving, I want to make sure that I don't pull too tight. Sometimes I keep my finger here as I pull the string through to make sure that nothing gets too tight. Otherwise, soon you have a weaving that looks like a triangle instead of a rectangle. When I notice that I'm getting close to the end of my yarn, I do a couple checks. I see, okay, do I have enough to finish this row? Yes, I can do one more line. Check again, do I have enough to do the next row? I have just enough, and then I need to start with a new piece of string. Now I'm going to pull through, and that's it. I have to start with a new piece of string. I can stay with the same color, or I can choose a different color. I'm just going to hold here as I pull the popsicle stick out, and I'm going to grab a new color. My new color will be orange. So to start this new color, I first need to tie these two together. With my two pieces of yarn, I'm going to make an X. I'm going to push one side around. Now I have a twisted X. Now I'm going to take the other side, the orange. I'm going to cross, and then I bring the orange through the hole and pull everything tight. To make sure it stays and doesn't come out, I'm going to make another circle and cross again. So I have two knots, pull tight, then if I try to pull here, they're stuck, they're not going anywhere. Once I've tied my strings together, I need to find the end of my new color or new piece of string, and I need to tape it to the shuttle, to the popsicle stick. I can use the old tape. If you need new tape, it's okay. And then I can continue with the second color. If you choose to start a weaving, I ask that you continue until you are all finished. Otherwise, if you start one day and you decide the next day you want to do painting or drawing, and the next week you want to do clay, and the next week you want to do drawing, well, that means this piece of wood is sitting in your folder for months, and maybe other people want to use the piece of wood. So, if you really want to do a weaving, take the time to finish it all the way through. We'll talk later about how to take the weaving off of the loom. For now, if you want to continue into another class, just carefully wrap the string around your popsicle stick. And to keep your popsicle stick safe, lift up a couple strings and that'll hold it in place. You can store the weaving right in your folder. Just tuck it away and it'll keep it nice and secure.